Hey, what's up, guys? Today we're going to be making a GPO fruit tier list. So these are going to be fruits from the most recent update. So it has newer fruits like gum, spin, and kilo. This isn't outdated. This is brand new. So yeah, just so you guys know, this should have every single fruit. If I'm not mistaken, yeah, it does. So let's get right into it. So we just have S, A, B, C, and D. S being the best, D being the worst, obviously. Sorry about that. And let's just start with Bari. Bari is a good placeholder for everything else. So it's definitely a C. I wouldn't put it in D, but it's mostly good for dungeons. And what I mean by that is like it's good for supporting a dungeon. Like let's say your team is about to die or something. Or yeah, for instance, and then you could just box the boss. But I wouldn't use it in dungeons too much at all. And you could protect your teammates. But on top of that, I would put it in high C because it's good for bosses, like for the same reason. Like if you're doing gesture, for example, um, you could box it and just let everyone get the offense off and getting huge damage, being a great support. Obviously being carried by the boxing move, and then Bomb is definitely going to be in the B tier, high B. I'd say high B. And you guys might be like, what, Bomb? Are we talking about the same Bomb? Bomb isn't good at all. Bomb is like terrible. That's what you guys might be thinking. But Bomb is overall a really great fruit. It can do almost everything. From one-shotting bosses in dungeons to doing huge damage on sea beasts, krakens, and don't even get me started. It grinds so well. I personally use this from around level 100 all the way to max. I used this fruit for my entire game, and it's literally one of my favorite fruits. Um, its PvP capabilities are really limited. It's really not that good at PvP at all, but it can still be used for PvP. Really good for dungeons, bosses, everything. And this is amazing fruit for grinding. That's why I'm putting it high B. High B. Let's get all the commons out of the way. But you guys might be thinking there's no order, all the commons are garbage. But by far, spin is a much better common than all the other commons. Like it's not comparable compared to Suke and Kilo. Spin is out of the field. Using this with Kusumi and one is a great way for PvP, and this fruit actually has some great capabilities in PvP. And it's definitely the best common fruit by far. So let's get into some legendaries. Actually, let's do love first. So love is probably a C tier. It has good stuns, but I'll definitely put it higher than spin. It has good stuns, but that's basically all it has to offer. It's really not good at all for damage or anything else other than stuns. Decent for PvP, and I can't lie, this is a pretty garbage fruit. So I definitely put it behind Bari. That's like by far. So let's get into some legendaries. So Zushi is definitely the lowest value as in trading legendary, but I would not put it as the worst legendary. And you guys might be thinking, what? How is that? How is that a thing? Ice is actually by far the worst legendary. Ice is like it doesn't have great moves. It doesn't have great moves at all. It does have some stuns. It has that going for it. It has great stuns actually, but the moves aren't as good as the other legendaries in the game. It does have that it can walk on water. That's a great thing about it, but it doesn't have too much going for it. So I'm gonna put it as the worst legendary. Now everybody thinks Zushi is the worst legendary, but I completely disagree. Zushi is probably put in high A tier. It's not quite an S, but it's definitely good for A tier. It can solo up to wave 50, really OP, and it's been the fruit I've been looking for basically the entire game. Don't get me started on how it has pretty low value in trading, so you can get your hands on this fruit relatively easily. But it has amazing capabilities for bossing, great for dungeons, and much more. This is a great fruit. Overall, I love it. Probably one of the highest in A tier. Next, we're gonna go Marrow. And you guys might be very surprised with what I do, but it's definitely gonna go in S. This fruit has amazing AoE, can easily solo through dungeons without any type of sweat. But honestly, it's gonna be in a low S tier for usage, And this fruit is also really good for PvP, if I didn't say that already, and great for grinding because of the large AoE and fast moves, and it can also fly and stay in one place, just like Zushi. So that's why I really, really like this fruit a lot. And one of my friends has this fruit, and he does really great with it in PvP, dungeons, and more. It's just an overall great fruit. But it will be low S tier, nonetheless. And now Gura is probably gonna be a little higher than Hiei, honestly. And now Hiei is a Logia, but Hiei is still one of the worst legendary fruits, if not the worst. It's like really bad, honestly. Compared to all the other amazing legendary fruits, it's just not in the same ballpark. It's really not as good. No, so now Gura, it has some pros and some cons. It has pretty slow moves, amazing AoE, great for dungeons, and much more, but also this fruit is amazing for PvP. It has some really good moves, great for ship grinding. I didn't even mention that at all for any of these fruits, which I should have. I'm sorry about that. Actually, I'm gonna put it behind ice because ice is great for ship grinding because it can walk on water. So that's definitely a con, and it's a Logia. So I'm gonna put it ahead, even though the moves are not as good as most legendaries. I would definitely put Gura as probably the worst legendary fruit, but it's still better than most fruits in the entire game because obviously it's a legendary. So next we're gonna go with Suna. So out of the Logias, I think Suna is definitely one of the worst with because it got a pretty big buff. I mean a pretty big nerf. Recently it got a pretty big nerf. So from Mera, Goro, Pika, and Magu, it's probably one of the worst out of the best fruits in the game. So I'm probably gonna put this in low S tier, similar to Mara. Now these fruits are really, really good, but compared to just these four fruits, it's really not too close. And actually, as a matter of fact, we're probably gonna move Suna down to A tier because it did get debuffed. And this fruit can solo dungeons. It's really good for grinding and amazing for PvP, but it just got debuffed. The damage is really high, and I've PvP'd with a lot of Suna users, and it really doesn't do enough damage to be like too great of a fruit, and it's really not too insanely good. But it is definitely the best A tier on this list. Now everything else is definitely gonna be an S tier, except for Tori. Tori is gonna be right here. Now you guys might be super confused. Like, what? Tori? Are we talking about the same Tori? It's a mythical. What do you mean? How is a mythical fruit behind Zushi? That is weird. But when you think about it, Tori is really not good for PvP. It can heal, good for bosses, it's good for dungeons, but it's just not that good. After all the debuffs, it's not as good as these fruits. Now, Goro is definitely a S tier. It's amazing for most things in this entire game. Great for PvP, great for solo and dungeon, great for bosses, high damage, high AoE, good for grinding, good for ship grinding. Don't even get me started on that. This is a great fruit, but it's not as good as Mago or Pika. Now, this is a really difficult thing to do because there are two sides of this game: Magu fans and Pika fans. And honestly, I think Magu is much better. But like, it's definitely a great fruit. So check this out, guys. Someone might not be too happy about this. So what I've just done is I've added two new rows. Now these rows are definitely going to be for Suna and Mera. And what I've just done is I've been moving a little bit fast, but if you guys haven't been paying attention, in S tier I put Goro and Pika. Pika definitely higher in S tier. But I made a whole new row because Magu is just so much better than any fruit in this game. It needs a row just for itself. This fruit is literally amazing. What else I've done is I've added a tier above A plus tier because I didn't feel like it was too fair to put these really good fruits in S tier because it didn't just, I mean in A tier, because they were definitely better than the A tier game, but just not as good as the S tier game. So I didn't know exactly where to put them. But then I thought I could just make an A plus tier. That's why I did that. And this is gonna be my complete GPO Devil Fruit tier list. But before we finish, let's just fix it up a little. This will just take a second, guys. These are all the decent fruits in the game. They're all decent, all good in their own way. And then up here, these are all the fruits that just take no skill to use. It's just that the people who use these fruits are absolute garbage at the game and think that using a fruit that takes no skill, winning in PvP, makes them good at the game. So this is why these fruits are here, because they take no skill to use. They just need their own place to be because these fruits take absolutely no skill. So this is the final fruit tier list. The decent fruits are here and the no skill fruits are up here. Absolute stupid O's that use this fruit are garbage and should not be able to play the game because the fruit takes no skill and you're garbage at the game for using it. Goodbye.